Hey, and welcome to I Was Just Thinking. My name is Heather Deveaux, and I was just thinking about finishing what we start and how for many years of my life I was not what you would call a finisher. I was, in fact, a starter. I could start basically anything. If I had an idea on Tuesday, it was in the works by Wednesday, and I was hyper focused on it by Thursday. And then, depending on what it was and how much interest I actually had in it, by Friday, it either fizzled or no, it probably just fizzled, if I'm being honest. So I used to have all these stories about myself as someone who could start something but not finish it. And years ago, I used to think that, maybe what I should be doing with my life is helping other people start businesses because I love the energy and the momentum and that feeling of urgency that comes with creating something. You just can't put the idea down. And I really thought of myself as somebody who could take an idea and run with it to a certain point, but I never really identified as a finisher. And I had a conversation with somebody recently where I realized that I am actually a finisher. It just depends on the project. And I wanted to just create some space here today to talk about what that looks like and how that feels, and to maybe shift the lens a little bit away from the guilt associated with having an idea and then effectively abandoning it, and what it looks like if you keep going. Now, I'm not going to tell you how to keep going. That is not something that I think I have a right to do. I think that there are things you can implement and there are thoughts you can have that can help you move projects or ideas or dreams forward. But I think ultimately what it came down to for me, and this was the conversation I was having with a friend of mine, was that I am now more motivated by finishing the project or completing the idea or getting it past the finish line, as it were, than I am with starting it. And in fact, I'm kind of experiencing a reverse situation where I don't want to start things now because I know I'm going to finish them, which is a very deep departure from previous Heather, who, kind of made a living out of starting something and then really never finishing it, calling it iteration, calling it growth, but not really learning along the way why I was doing that. And so I'm bringing this up today because I had this conversation with a friend of mine about building motivation and building momentum. And she was kind of, lamenting the way we do about not being able to get off the couch. And, we joke about terribly and inappropriately, like, oh, are we just depressed? Or is it just a Monday? Or am I really not interested? And so I want to share with you some of the ways that I have been able to differentiate between, yeah, I'm actually just not interested, and I'm worried about how much work something is going to take, or I feel like this is an obligation to me. And so when I think about starting a project, like this podcast is a great example, and I talked about how I hesitated to start because I didn't want to have that sense of obligation to show up here all the time. Now, here I am on episode 3. I mean, it doesn't take long, right? But I had to have that conversation with myself as of late as well, because I am in this place, as you know now, that I am really paying attention to how I feel when I do something. And this is not new news for me, but it may be new news for you if you think about this in terms of how you apply motivation and urgency to your life. But one of the things I have noticed as of late is that, number one, I can catch myself when I am telling myself stories about who I used to be. Because, yeah, old Heather used to start all kinds of stuff and not finish it. But that wasn't the real story. I should say, that wasn't the circumstance. That was the story. That was the thing that I was telling myself as a way to buffer or make better the fact that I wasn't finishing something. But the real underlying issue or concern there is, why wasn't I finishing it? And I'm not going to give you any shit about not finishing anything. That's not the point of this. When I thought about why I wasn't finishing things, there was all kinds of reasons. Mostly it was because I was telling myself, I don't think this is going to work, which is super interesting. So I would have an idea just in my brain, all by myself, and I would tell no one, and I would work through all the details of having the idea, and I would sit at my desk or at the table or wherever I was, whatever I was doing, and I would start creating that thing, or I would start ideating that thing or brainstorming on that thing. And I would get lost in the brainstorming and the research and the planning, and I'd read another book, and maybe I'd take a workshop or I'd sign up for something free, and I would be excited about the possibility, which is where I loved to live back then. I would get really dug in really deep to the possibility of an idea. But when it came down to it and I had to start actually creating the thing, I still was able to maintain momentum. So I would create the thing and I would have some version of that in the world. And I would then get to a point where it stopped being fun. And this is a story we often tell ourselves too. Well, it's not fun anymore. I like the fun. I like the interesting. I like the urgency. I like the building. I like the research. I like the thinking. I like the planning. I like strategizing. Like all these words. What the fuck do they even mean? All they are is just a bunch of hoopla about why you're not going to keep moving forward. And so I was doing this to myself where I was telling myself, oh, you're not a finisher. You're a starter. You like the beginning. You like the creation. You like developing the container. You like developing the strategy. You like developing the systems. And I developed, as a result of that, a little bit of a complex around, you only need me for certain parts of a project, or I only need to be present for a certain part of a project because I'm a starter. I can't see this through to the finish line. And I had all these examples in my life of how I had started something and not finished it. When in reality, when I go back and I make meaning of it now, what I can see is there was this underlying theme, context, story that I was telling myself that really was, I am afraid it's not going to work out. And that was just reinforcing, constant cyclical reinforcement of an idea I had, an idea I worked on, an idea I launched or put into the world. Could be anything. Could be I renovated a room in my house and just never put the trim up because then I'd have to decorate the room and I didn't know if I was going to do a good job of decorating the room. It could be that I was starting a walking routine and I would plan how many days a week I was going to walk, and then I would go out and I would walk a few days a week, but then something would come up and so I would abandon the walking routine. And I had all these stories about that, and it was that I kept telling myself on the surface, I'm not a finisher, and then underneath, the reality was I was afraid it wasn't going to work out. And so now, one of the things that I pay attention to as I've been in this creative sabbatical, having all kinds of ideas, like it's like I started this sabbatical and have started 1,000 different businesses a week since, because I have all these different ideas. And what I'm finding is that I'm becoming very discerning, actually, about what I take action on. And I'm sure from the outside, it looks like I'm doing a lot of things. I'm writing a blog, I'm writing my 7th romance novel, I'm traveling, I'm renovating my home, I am looking at different ways of living. So this week I'm doing something called Coach Week, which by the time you hear this, it will be over. But I'm also creating art and I'm creating programs. And so I'm doing lots of different things that are kind of related to each other, only in the sense that they all live on my creative platform, heatherdeveaux.com. But it also is that, yes, I am doing lots of different things. And also, you should see the things I'm not doing. You should see the list. You should see the conversation that ChatGPT and I have on the regular about my brain and all the ideas I have. And so on the one hand, I am really proud of myself for creating this space and creating this process and creating this creative project for myself. And now that I'm sharing with you in this way and also on the blog and in social media and those kinds of things. I'm very proud of myself for doing that. I am not finished it yet. And technically, I could get to a point where I say, okay, I'm done. But the reality is, the scope of this project is effectively endless. I could continue to develop different things under this sort of brand or this project label. Like, I don't even know what to call it. But this creative sabbatical, which is what I usually refer to it as, this time that I've carved out for myself, when I think about this and I think about all the things I'm doing, it's because I actually want to do them. And I'm not doing any of it out of obligation. And there are lots of other things I'm not doing. Like, I keep saying to myself, I really would like to get into baking. And the truth is, like, I probably don't want to get into baking as like a way to support myself or to start a baking business, but I am going to try it because it keeps coming up and there's a reason it keeps coming up. But I keep putting it off in favor of other things I know I actually want to do, which are write the blog and now record this podcast. I'm having so much fun doing that. And so I think when I think about motivation, like going back to this conversation with my friend, we tend to think of external motivators as the reason that we do something. So for people who work in business, if you have a business or an entrepreneur, there is a little bit of a carrot and stick happening there, right? Where you go out and you sell a product and your reward is financial, so you're doing transactions, you're getting money for things you've created. And so the motivation then to go out and find clients and customers is monetary. And I don't have that right now. So what is it that is making me show up? I'm technically not selling anything. I mean, I am building some kind of brand here. I'm building some kind of platform here, but it hasn't been effectively defined yet. I am getting closer, just gonna put that out there. Like, I feel like I am getting closer to what is the point of doing this besides just doing it? And to be clear, just doing it is plenty of reason to do it. But I did it with the intention that I wanted to see what was going to come up and where I was going to land and what was kind of going to be the next phase of my life. And my last podcast episode, Purpose, number 2, talked about this exact thing where, like, yeah, this is actually how I'm spending my time right now. So I'm not talking about this in terms of temporary solution anymore or temporary pause. This is how I'm living right now. And yep, there will come a time where, like, probably going to make some money doing it, but I don't know what that is yet, and that's fine. But the motivation to show up then is not about money. And it's a very interesting dynamic to just create something for the sake of creating it. It's not altruistic. Like, I will eventually leverage this, I'm sure, in some way. But really, to just get up every day and say, I am motivated. Like, and that's not even how I think. The way I think is, I can't wait to sit down and write that blog. Today I'm going to write this blog. Today I'm going to now record this podcast. Today I'm going to work on my novel. I'm really getting close to getting this novel finished, and I'm so excited about it. And I'm like, love my characters more than I ever have. And I'm excited to do these things, not because any of it is going to make me any money. And I got to tell you, when you are someone who's used to showing up to perform, and I mean that in the sense of, like, look at me, I'm an entrepreneur. Here are all my wares and watch all my dances, and here, give me money for that. When you're someone who does that, no shade. I did it for 10 years. I'm still doing it in lots of ways. When you do that, the motivation is, I have to get customers. I have to get clients. I need to build a pipeline. I need to have a funnel. Like, fuck me, I hate funnels. Like, I hate all that stuff. And so this creative sabbatical, to me, even though, like, my business brain knows I'm building a brand here, Creative Heather doesn't give a shit. Like, I don't care if I can monetize this podcast. I will in the future care about monetizing something, but right now I am just chill with, here's the thing I'm doing. I'm excited about it. I really like it. And that motivation is, quite frankly, enough to get me out of bed and just keep doing it. So it's not that I'm trying to finish it. I'm not racing towards the finish line. I got to get 100 blog posts out. I think I'm at 40 some now in about 4.5 months. So I'm on target to hit over 100 blog posts for the year, but I actually never set a goal for that. And I'm kind of just organically and naturally, when I feel inspired to write, I write. And I don't rush to publish anything. So even though I'm writing, I would say I'm writing probably every other day with purpose, sitting down to write something for the blog. Even though I'm doing that every other day, there are lots of times where I write 3 or 4 blogs in a row and then I don't write anything for 4 or 5 days. So I don't have any systems. I don't have any frameworks really. I don't have a timeline. I don't have any goals. And that sounds like chaos, doesn't it? It sounds like just pure chaos, especially when you are identifying as someone who likes systems, frameworks, and processes, which I do and I have. But right now, at this juncture in my life, I am enjoying the freedom to explore time itself and also my interests and also what I want to be doing with my life. What is my life's purpose? And it came down to motivation for me, being able to identify that I just want to do these things. These feel important to me. They feel like part of my story. They feel like they are going to help me grow into the person I want to be. And effectively, it is me practicing what I preach, right? When I talk about self-reflection, when I talk about becoming the person you want to be, when I talk about creating the life you really want to live, on my blog, you'll read all kinds of very meta reflections about that kind of stuff because I am actively reflecting as I am writing. And that is what's happening on this podcast as well. I'm making meaning as I go. And that for me is the finishing, is the I'm getting to a point every single day with all of the activities I'm engaging in, whether that's going for a walk in the park or that's sitting down to write a blog. I am thinking actively about why I'm doing this. And as soon as the words I should show up, I go, no, fuck it. We'll try again tomorrow because that's not what I'm about right now. I'm about, do I want to do it? So my friend who's sitting on the couch saying, I just can't make myself move, and is blaming it on like just being lazy or feeling unmotivated or just like not interested in the work that she needs to be doing. Totally fair. We've all been there, you know. We love our businesses and also just like, oh my God, do I have to do this again today? You know? So she's having this sort of like confliction moment, this moment of confliction where she knows she has to do it because like they're going to pay her and they expect it from her, but she can't make herself want to do it. And, you know, I thought about this idea of finishing and I said, just think about how good you'll feel when it's done. And that clicked for me and it clicked for her. And it was more than I'll just do this because I have to. It became about working towards the feeling of satisfaction that it was done. And I'm not going to talk to you about done is better than perfect. I don't know. Sometimes those cliches don't really sit well with me. Because yeah, sure, done is better than perfect. And when someone's paying you 10 grand or more, it better be perfect, you know? Like you can't done is better than perfect consulting. You can't done is better than perfect training. You can't done is better than perfect giving advice or strategy, right? Done is better than perfect is this podcast. Done is better than perfect is my blog. Things that have no real consequence in the world. That, and I'm going on a bit of a rant here, but that phrase, done is better than perfect, which many people claim to have said first. My first encounter with that was Sheryl Sandberg from Facebook, who I have since stopped following and don't subscribe to any of her dogma anymore. But when I think about done is better than perfect, it's just a permission to get you moving. Whereas, again, that is an external validation. And to me, I'm just like not looking for any external validation right now. I'm looking for how to align and figure out my internal flow so that I'll get off my ass and do the things I actually want to do, not the things I have to do, the things I actually want to do. And so this idea that like, how will I feel when it's done? Ironically, turns out to be the thing most people are chasing all the time. We just call it goals. And we say, in business in particular, we say, find a problem you can solve for people and then sell them the solution. And then the marketing becomes tell them how they'll feel once they have it. And so we see this everywhere. Buy these sunglasses because you'll feel cool. Buy this car because you'll feel important. Stay at this hotel because you'll feel fancy. Like, this stuff is everywhere. And we do so many things from this external point of view of like, this is how I want to feel, so I look outside myself. And for me, one of the things that I'm realizing and why I'm sharing this with you here today is that I feel much better when I do things because I want to do them, because they feel important to me. I don't even need to know why they feel important. I just need to know and recognize that, yes, I will feel better when it's done, but my God, I'm going to enjoy getting it done. Even the stuff I don't want to do, I can motivate myself internally with the feeling of satisfaction, knowing that when it's done, I will feel good. Do I ever have to think about it again? God, I hope not. I hate the carrot and stick of life. I just want to get it done. I want to move on to the next thing. And I really like this idea of kind of flipping the script, flipping this idea on its head of like, yeah, you can, done is better than perfect your way through life, but probably not in business, in other areas of your life. But like, why would you do that? Why wouldn't you just look at something and think, I love that the way it is? And I want to do this because it feels important to me and I'm showing up for the things I actually want. And I'm doing, actively living and actively doing and actively practicing living a very specific way, which of course is with intention. And so when we are pulled in these directions of, I have to deliver a client project or my mother-in-law needs me for something, we sometimes get a little resentful about that because that isn't actually how we want to spend our time. And when I talk to people about changing their lives and I talk to them about the way they see themselves living, there are elements of it that they have right now, but that keeps getting sidetracked because, yeah, not everyone can take a year off and just like start a podcast. I get that. Or write a blog or take a trip. Like, I get that. But there are elements of that where you can look at something and just decide, simply because you have decided now, you've changed your mind from yesterday, that this is not what I want to be doing now. Yeah, it was what I wanted to be doing yesterday, but now I have more information. My brain is smarter than it was before, and it recognizes that like we actually don't like this thing and we want to do something else. And so the guilt that comes up with how we procrastinate and how we use our time by scrolling social media, or we run errands instead of cleaning our homes, like whatever that is, I just think to myself, yeah, I'll do it when I want to do it. And sure, there are deadlines, like not in my life anymore. I have like just removed them completely. I no longer live in a world where I have deadlines because I am shutting my business down. I'm putting my consulting business to bed. For now, anyway. I'm not taking meetings. I'm not working towards deadlines. Like that stuff is just so beyond me right now that I can't even process it. And I don't think I'm better than it. I think like I just don't want to fucking do it. So I've removed those barriers from my life. And I think now that when I have to do something, it's because it's like I needed to live, I needed to eat, I needed to pay my bills, like whatever that is, I will do it. But I'm doing it from a place of because I'll feel better when it's done. And I'm going to do my best to enjoy the process while I can. And the way that I do that, we're finally getting to the point. The way that I do that is I turn those moments of, I have to do this. And like, please no, I mean the bare minimum have to. I'm just like doing the bare minimum of have to right now because I'm engaging in things I want to do. I have tons of room in my life for the things I want to do. So when I have to show up and I have to do something, I approach it from the perspective of, and I'm going to learn something while I do it. I'm going to learn something about myself. I'm going to make this fun for me because I have a weird brain. I'm going to make this fun for me by reflecting on it later. I'm going to get some data from this experience. Now, I'm going to give you a really specific example of this because I think that this could start to get abstract pretty quick. But last winter, again, time is not my friend. I can't. So funny. Anyway, I'm going to say last winter. January, maybe. I hired a house cleaner. And I hired a house cleaner because I don't like cleaning my house. Hard stop. Now, I could sit here and explain to you all the reasons why I don't like cleaning my house, but the bottom line is I'm not good at it, okay? And I tell you that, I'm smiling, I'm kind of laughing. My mother would die if she heard me say that. But listen, it's just not my thing. I don't care to do a good job of it. I take no pride in it. It's just like I want to be sitting here writing blogs, reading books, going on adventures. I'm not above cleaning. I just fucking hate it. And so I decided it was worthwhile for me to give myself permission to release myself of this very uncomfortable activity I have to do on a never-ending basis. Like, for women everywhere, if you can afford it, get a house cleaner. I pay $100 a week. My house is spotless all the time now. Get a house cleaner. I got a house cleaner, and my life changed in a way that is so profound and simple, it almost doesn't feel real. And here's what happened. I actually started enjoying cleaning. By having the bulk majority of the work done, I was able to show up and look at the 4 or 5 dishes in the sink and not think, fuck my life. And not think, I fucking hate doing dishes. And not think, I'm just going to move to paper plates. I have thought on so many occasions, I'm just going to switch to paper plates. And I need you to know, I am the kind of person who would spend hours designing a book cover, would spend hours editing the inside of my book or my blog, or painting a wall, or picking out a cover for my bed. I would spend hours doing those things. But I will not clean macaroni and cheese out of the bottom of a pot. And so I have, on many occasions, thrown pots out because I look at it and go, well, I cooked that too long. I could just buy another one. It's fine. So I hired a house cleaner because, like, bottom line, I suck at it and I don't like doing it and I don't want to be better at it. When I hired my house cleaner and I could see the potential in my house, just also to be clear, I'm not dirty. I'm not a hoarder. I don't actually care if you think I am, but I think it's worth saying my house cleaner comes and like washes my floors and cleans my bathroom and cleans my kitchen. And I made a very special request. I have 2 disgusting cats. Could you just clean the cat litter? And that's great. You don't got to worry about making the beds. I actually make the beds every day. You don't got to worry about the laundry. I hate laundry, but it is something I can make myself do with very little effort because I need underwear. I have bought many, and I still need more, so I have to do laundry. And so when my cleaner comes, I feel much better at the end to see the finished result. And it actually inspires me to maintain it throughout the week, which was a byproduct I did not expect and am delighted to find. So I look at the dishes in my sink and I think that's only going to take me a minute. Here's my example. When I used to do this kind of stuff, like housework, which I hate, I would tell myself, I hate this housework. I was not thinking about how good it would feel when the housework was done. And so I would just drudge my ass through doing the housework. I get very distracted when I'm doing something I don't want to be doing. I get very resentful when I have to spend my time doing things I really don't want to do. And I would put it off and it would just get worse. And then I would have to spend hours cleaning. And so I tried lots of different systems. I tried lots of different cleaning, processes and the 5-minute pickup method and let's set a timer. No, none of that worked for me. I'm just going to stop fighting against the brain in my head and I'm working with it now. And one of the things I discovered was, when it is already done for me, I can maintain it easily and I get excited about maintaining it. And because I hated it before, I used to do things like I would listen to podcasts, I would listen to books, I would listen to music. I would always have this noise on in the background, which pulled me out of the moment. Now, this is going to sound real woo-woo, okay? This is a true story. When I hired a cleaner and obviously, she's not here every day. She comes once a week. She's here for 3 or 4 hours. When I hired a cleaner, and I realized there's still maintenance, obviously. Good job, Heather. There's still maintenance. I looked at those dishes in the sink, and for the first time, I didn't feel like I needed to distract myself from doing the thing in front of me because I knew The bulk of the work was done. I just had to maintain it. And doing these dishes, the 4 minutes it was going to take me to do those dishes, I didn't need to pull myself out of that moment. That resulted in me sitting down. This is also a true story. Sitting down and thinking about, super interesting, how come when I'm camping, okay, I camp a lot. How come when I'm camping, I don't hate doing dishes? I cook and I clean and I do the dishes and I make the beds in the camper and I tidy up my campsite and I put everything back in the cupboards where it belongs. But I don't do that at home. And I never did that, even when I was a housewife. I like to say housewife, but like I was a terrible housewife. When I was married, I couldn't even do that in my own home with a family to take care of. I was just like, that's not my problem. If you wanna do it, you go ahead. I have other better things to do. I don't want to spend my time cleaning my house. And so when I would go camping, I just do these things like with an amount of pride that is almost embarrassing. So I talked to my therapist about it. And my therapist said, it's probably because you see doing dishes at the campsite as part of the experience. You're not listening to podcasts. You're not listening to music. You're not trying to distract yourself. You see setting up your camp, making a meal, washing the dishes, and putting things away as taking care of your campsite. Now, that sounds very obvious as I say it out loud, but that realization clicked for me so hard that now, however many months later this is since I've hired a cleaner, I think 8 or 9, now when I think about doing housework, I am motivated to do it as part of the experience of being a homeowner, not feeling obligated to do it because I own a home. And I think that there is a very subtle but actually powerful distinction there, that having it mirrored back to me from my therapist as housework is part of the experience really shifted my thinking around it as like, oh yeah, I like literally don't hate doing dishes while I'm camping. It's because I want my camp, my campsite, my camper. I want it to be clean. I want it to feel cozy. And I want to get to the better parts faster. So I just clean up and I do everything I have to do so I can get on with the day and feel better about the things I actually want to do. But then I realized that's actually not it either. It is really that I'm present and I'm accounted for, and doing the dishes is actually part of the lived experience that I'm having when I'm camping. So I took all that information. I came home. I went my last camping trip a couple of weeks ago. And I caught it in real time. I caught that like, oh, holy fuck, this is a real thing. I am loving this as part of the experience. So I come home and I start doing it at home. And sure as shit, sitting in my house, looking at things I have to do to, quote, clean up, is now part of my experience of being a homeowner. It's not my responsibility. I don't think about it that way. It's not my obligation. I don't think about it that way. I think about it as I am alive in my home. I am lucky to be a homeowner. I love my home. I want to take care of it. And I am motivated to get off my ass and go do those dishes. Whereas before, the story was always, I hate dishes, I'd rather throw them out than do them. Now I've been able to shift the story into something that actually gets me off the couch to help clean my house. I say help because my cleaner manages it for me now, but I help clean. And I love it. And I take so much pride in it now. And it is such a silly, simple example that actually has become such profound realization in my life, that I go to the basement now to do laundry. And all the things I thought, like, I'm going to have to renovate my laundry room because my basement is unfinished. I'm going to have to renovate my laundry room and make it pretty down here, so I'll want to be here so that I won't hate the way it looks. I realized, no, I just want clean clothes. I don't have to spend thousands of dollars to create a pretty laundry room, which actually was like an external motivation, right? If I have something better to look at, I will do the work. It's why we clean up our offices before we sit down to write something, or before we sit down to talk to a client, or why we will actually clean up the kitchen instead of having to do the things those other things we're supposed to do, what I realized was there is an external motivation and expectation of I should have a clean home and I should take pride in that and I should enjoy that and I should be good at it. And I was like, well, boys, I'm just not. So what are we going to do about it? But when I felt how it felt to come out of my office at the end of the day, and my cleaner has been here for several hours, and my house is so clean. She literally does this thing where she cleans from the edge of the kitchen right to the door so that it's still wet and clean when she's leaving. She like cleans her way out of the house. And I come out of my office because I stay out of her way and my house is clean. I'm just like, this is not only worth every penny, it feels so good. And I want to maintain that feeling, not actually even the result. I want to maintain the feeling. And so I will pick up the goddamn dishes. I will pick up the cat toys in the living room. I will go and I will change that cat litter. Like I will do all the things just because I want to maintain the feeling of how I feel now that it's been done. Now that I know how it could feel. Before it all just felt like work. Felt like stupid housework. Who invented this? Why would they do that? And when I thought about that laundry room of like, oh, the answer to get me to do more laundry is to clean up the laundry room. I cleaned up the laundry room and I was like, yeah, actually the motivation is I just want to feel good about having clean, ready clothes in my closet. And like, listen, I'm not a spring chicken. I mean, I'm a little bit of a spring chicken, but like I'm not young anymore. Still very young. I'm not a kid and I'm not 25, you know. And I think sometimes we go through life thinking that we need the motivation to come from other places. And if there is no motivation from within, there must be something wrong with us. And I just disagree. I think it's discernment. I think it's knowing yourself, knowing not even your strengths, but knowing how you want to spend your time and knowing that this isn't it. I knew, and it took me a while to wrap my head around it because like societal expectations are fucking real. I knew I'm just not good at cleaning my house. And because I know I'm not good at it, I don't want to do it. Could I be better at it? No. You know why? Because I don't want to be. I could do the work to change that story. I don't want to. I'm exercising my full capacity of free will here. I'm choosing the thing to work on and I'm throwing the rest out. And when we think about motivation and we think about that, what gets us up off the couch, I think sometimes we think it has to come from external places. And right now in my life, it's coming from internal places based on how I want to feel. I don't think there's anything frivolous or trite or silly about that. I think if I can control my environment to the extent that I feel good about it, then I'm going to do that. If I can control the kind of work I show up and do to the extent that I want to do it, I will feel good about that. And I no longer want to be living in a place where I feel obligated to do things that I don't want to do. Right down to, I don't want to cook supper tonight, we're ordering out again. Period. If I want to cook supper, I'm going to cook supper. But if I don't, I am not going to guilt myself into doing it. And so if you're sitting there thinking about motivation and how you would love to do A, B, C, D all the way to Z, and you're not doing it, I'm not going to tell you to ask yourself why you're not doing it, because I think that that becomes finger pointy and accusatory. And I think that's actually a really shitty place to start to try to build motivation. Not ask yourself why you don't want to do it. Ask yourself how you want to feel. And if doing that thing will make you feel like that, will that be enough to get you moving? And maybe it's not, because I know having a clean house makes me feel good, but it was not enough to make me fire my cleaner. I still have a cleaner. I will have a cleaner as long as my bank account and my budget allows, because I love that feeling. And I think that when we think about motivation, we think about it as it's got to cost us. It's it's a trade-off, and it's not. It's actually a beacon to guide us to the thing we want, which will make us feel a certain way. And so rather than thinking about the work, rather than thinking about the investment, rather than thinking about all of the things I should be doing instead, based on whose premise, I have no idea. My mother's probably clean your house. No, fuck off. I don't want to. When I think about all that stuff, I look for the feeling now. I feel great when I sit down at my desk to write a blog. I feel great when I sit on the couch and I read a book. I feel great when I go for a walk. I feel great when I eat nice food, whether I cooked it or not. I feel great when my house is clean, whether I cleaned it or not. I feel great when I'm out driving in my car, also dirty. When I am laughing with friends, I feel great when I'm having a great cup of coffee. So I'm just doing more of those things. And so what that allows me to do is to see right away when something doesn't feel great. Like, oh, I don't like this. Yeah, I don't like how I feel like I should have to do this. Painting, being an artist, creating things with my hands, pottery, all that kind of stuff. I've always thought about doing that for a living. And so I've been trying those things, and I have come to realize that actually I hate the way it feels to feel like I should show up and do those things. Well, I should practice. Well, I should get better. Well, I should do this. Well, I should paint this. No. When I sit down to write, or when I'm here just, rhyming off in a podcast, I could do this stuff all day long so easily and so happily. Why would I fight with art? I love art. I appreciate art. I have thousands of dollars worth of art in my house, but I don't think I want to make it for the purpose of anything other than just making it. I have tons of art in my house that I've painted myself and I've created myself. That is just kind of like I've created my own gallery in my house. So the motivation there is I do this for me. That's something I do for me. You know what that's called? A hobby. Imagine a hobby we're not going to monetize. That's growth, let me tell you. That's to look at something and say, I actually don't want to sell this. It's a big moment for me. I need you to know that. So look around your life and think to yourself, what makes me feel really good? What can I do more of that makes me feel good? Identify the things like, yeah, we got to do them. Like we got to scrub the toilets and we got to clean the houses and we got to put gas in the car and whatever. Those are just everyday things. But what can you do to live in those moments more so that they feel like part of the experience and not obligation? Don't worry about why it makes you feel good. I think you get further faster if you just pay attention to the fact that it feels good. It's not a competition. We're not weighing options here. We're just following a feeling of, I like this, this feels good. I hope you have an amazing week, and I'll talk to you soon.